In another corner of the kingdom, these same eternal truths were testing another soul, in the deepest, most well-guarded chambers of a castle. In the deepest, most well-guarded chambers of a castle erected on the highest peaks, sat a girl slouched against the dilapidated walls. The walls served as a reflection of her heart, which, with muted strength, persevered through the indifference with which the world had regarded her. "One day I will be free," eyes said. But what is freedom? Her mind rang. In the deepest corner of her mind, she gazed into the vast expanse, and there an entity greeted her. "Leave me in peace," she responded. "And what do you envision as peace, young one? Rotting away in some forgotten corner of the world, a subject of experimentation?" "What do you envision as peace?" the girl asked cautiously. "Contentment," the entity replied. "But contentment often costs what we consider peace." "What do you mean?" the girl asked with a muted expression of curiosity. "To want, to take from what could have been someone else's and make it solely yours, even life itself." "I don't understand." "No fighting spirit," the entity sighed. "I don't know what is more tragic, one who suffers because he knows better, or one who doesn't know better and therefore does not suffer," the entity lamented. "Can you show me better?" "Perhaps I could, but you would suffer." "They're going to kill you tomorrow." "I see. Hence why I am sad for you, child. To be robbed of the basic desire for self-preservation. On second thought, I will show you better. I will be killed for this, but I have lived long enough." The girl felt millennia of experiences flow through her, every sentiment, every moment, anguish, grief, love, compassion, envy, lust, rage, wrath, pride, and even gluttony. The intensity of the experience snapped her back to the physical plane, her sense of self, molding itself around each emotion, and then she wept. And then it was an overwhelming fury. Her heart sang, "Oh, how I've been wronged," her eyes proclaimed. When she was done weeping, she lay, her mind flowing with emotion that pulsed through her with every beat of her heart. It stirred her soul to motion. A restlessness grew within her, a kindling of ambition, a longing for something beyond this present moment. As she realized this longing, she felt anguish. Then it was an overwhelming fury that festered from the depths of her being. "Oh, how I've been wronged," her eyes lamented. Hours upon hours passed, and footsteps began to echo in her mind as the girl awoke. From her slumber, the metal door slowly creaked open, revealing a silhouette of a man, the light blinding her. "Iselin." "Edward," she said, misery weaving its way into her expression. "Iselin, what's wrong?" "I can't take another day in this place. Is this hate?" "Iselin, you're in danger." They heard the pounding of footsteps and then shouting, "Iselin, I came to get you out of here. Please, let me do this. Let me right this wrong." Edward took Iselin's hand as they ran through the labyrinth, each path unveiling a myriad of forks. There is an underground passage. As they rounded a corner, a sword missed Edward's neck by an inch. He summoned the father's will through a talisman and placed it on the guard's chest. As he did so, his chainmail shattered from the cold, and Edward drove a sword through his heart. The man's eyes went lifeless before his body, the blood curdling in his mouth, a symphony that echoed through and pleaded for his mother's warmth. Edward took Iselin by the hand and ran. The sound of her bare feet pattered against the cold stone floor. After some time, they came to a large expanding courtyard within the castle. There they were surrounded by many men. "Iselin, remember what I taught you." I stare into their eyes while reaching into the back of my mind. "Yes, but this time I want you to stare into the ice crystals." "Why?" "Don't ask. Just do." "Yes, sir." Edward reached into his armored robes, pulling out several talismans as the men charged at him. He bobbed and weaved between all of them, placing talismans on the ground at each opportunity while blocking attacks with his vambraces. Then when there was a circle of talismans around the courtyard, he emitted a blast of air from his mouth, knocking the men to the ground. Using the brief interval, he wove a sigil in the air and said a chant. The talismans began to glow and come to life. Suddenly, it began to rain in. The courtyard, the rain turning to vapor and mist, and then the mist turned to ice shards. One of the men grabbed Isoline. She began frantically kicking her legs out as the man chuckled, and just as he was about to slice her throat, Edward closed his eyes and shouted, "Isoline, now!" Isoline stared into one of the ice shards. Suddenly the depths of the cosmos reflected in. Every direction, in every ice shard, forcing the men to look. As they peered through the veil, they were driven into a mad frenzy and reduced to a bumbling, catatonic state. Edward muttered to himself, "I wasn't expecting this." Within the still silence of the triumphant victory, Isoline asked, "What are you, Edward?" "I am a magus of the Order of the Twilight Veil, or rather a former magus now." Isoline looked to the side. "Why did you save me?" "Because I've developed a paternal affection towards you these past few years of my life." And so it was they mounted a steed and rode off, but regardless of which direction they went, they would be facing time. Atop a hill sat a humble village. It was a quaint, quiet village far removed from the capital's politics. The village folk were winding down from a long day of toiling with the earth. In that village, there was a girl named Camilla. She sat at a table in a homely cottage adjacent to the river, illuminated by the hearth that cast shadows which hugged every crevice of the cold, dank stone walls and were abetted by the depths of her decrepit heart. Her idleness was interrupted by a loving hand on her shoulder. "Camilla," her mum said, "it's dinner time." Within the still silence, the embers from the hearth danced towards the heavens, yet remained caged by their brief lifespans. Camilla turned away, her heart laid naked and bare upon her face. "No," she said. "You know how I feel about that." Her mom looked at her with a muted tone of concern. "Camilla, everybody loves you, despite what you eat." "But the way they look at me," Camilla interrupted her mom, her voice drier than the winter air. "Please don't say it, please." Desperation clawed its way up her throat. Her mom kissed her on the forehead and left her to eat in the solitude of her mind. Each bite of her meal reverberated through it and reminded her of what she was not. Camilla was different, for the world kept a secret from her. Her skin was as pale as the tundra, the moonlight reflecting off it. Veins stretched across her skin like a nebula. Her eyes were as pitch black as the cosmos, and her fangs were sharper than her brother's. Wit